Okay, everyone, let's begin. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. We have a really great presentation today. We have Robert Politzer from Greenstreet Global. He's a consultant that helps buildings reduce their OPEX with some really creative strategies. We also have with us Christina Curry from New York City Accelerator. A brief review on Local Law 97. Everyone's quite familiar already, but very importantly, some important guidelines for filing now as we get closer to the May 1st deadline for filing your Local Law 97. So for everyone in attendance, this presentation is being recorded, and a copy of the slide deck and the recording will be made available to your email address that you used to sign up for the webinar. We'll send it out shortly afterwards. We will have a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to type in your questions. We'll go through them at the end for our presenters, and you'll be able to turn on your microphones as well if you'd like. So for our agenda today, we're going to do some brief introductions. We'll get right into optimizing your operating expenses. Local Law 97 filing tips and deadlines. We'll talk about STEAM system retrofits, review case studies, and then go into the Q&A session. So first, briefly about us, Building Efficiency Services. My name is Ari, and Building Efficiency Services, we specialize in helping high-rise buildings achieve efficiency, specifically with their STEAM systems. We do some electrification as well. Of course, Local Law 97 compliance and incentives. And we've upgraded over 300 New York City buildings and saved New York City over 3 million therms. With us today is the founder and CEO of Greenstreet Global. Greenstreet Global transforms buildings into high efficiency, low carbon assets and really helps increase property value through some of their methods. And of course, with us, Christina Curry from New York City Accelerator. We do a lot of work with Christina, phenomenal account manager. And if you're not familiar with Accelerator, they are free consultants to help you navigate this entire Local Law 97 landscape. You should definitely reach out. We'll have contact information for both Robert and Christina at the end of the presentation. So we're going to go and get into optimizing your OPEX. I'm going to turn it over to Robert. Please, Robert, go ahead.
Fantastic. Ari, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here today, and I thank you for the opportunity to be presenting to this audience of no doubt of those folks, most of whom are probably involved with Local Law 97 work. So with Greenstreet Global, frankly, we started the first green building company in New York City in 1998, and we've been doing general contracting, construction project management for green buildings ever since that time. And when Local Law 97 was passed, we upgraded our business model to include a number of additional components that allowed us to provide a holistic one-stop turnkey program for commercial building upgrades. Our tagline, as you can see, is, and this is what we live in and work by, it's cut costs first and foremost, grow value as a result, and decarbonize. And the decarbonization, when it's done right, will come as a value-added component of our program. Next slide, please. So as in the previous slide, it stated that what we're really looking to do in New York City is to turn Local Law 97 liabilities into opportunities. And as such, our mission is to empower commercial building owners to reduce building and back office OPEX, increase NOI, and increase property value while urbanization profitable. Next, please. So we are essentially a systems integrator. It's what we've been doing for years now. We have a growing, very large network of partners and vendors, and we bring them all together for financing projects, for our cost-saving solutions, for our green building upgrades, both planning and installations, and it all in a holistic one-stop turnkey program. As I said, we began in 1998 as the first green building company in New York City. We started before there was LEED. At the time of our founding, there was one green building supply company in all of New York City, and it's been really, really great and very rewarding to see how the field of green buildings has grown over time. It's no longer considered a high extra cost for green buildings, as was the assumption for a number of years. It's now being recognized more and more as higher performing, higher asset value properties, and that's what we're all about in transforming buildings, living and working in the 20th century into the 21st century. Um, our history, as we said, we've got a curated, growing number of implementation partners. We have our proprietary solution I'm going to get into a little bit later, our three-step solution. And as well, what's really important, we have a growing number of financing solutions. We can finance all of our projects 100%, including all the soft and the hard costs. Next, please. So quick overview, Local Law 97. What I think is really most important to understand is that there are prerequisite laws that also need to be addressed with full compliance with Local Law 97. So some of you may or may not know this. There's Local Law 33, the letter grades. There's Local Law 84, benchmarking, which has to be done on an annual basis. There's Local Law 87, the energy audits and retro commissioning that needs to be done every 10 years. And then there's Local Law 88 lighting upgrades, which is in fact a prerequisite for Local Law 97 compliance. And as some of you again probably know, and as Ari mentioned, the first official requirement under Local Law 97 is coming up on May 1st of this year, and that's the annual reporting of greenhouse gas emissions. That'll be an annual reporting requirement unless you are an affordable housing project and you follow the alternative A321 pathway and you get your prescriptive measure work done, in which case you won't have to continue reporting. Otherwise, all market-based buildings will have to be reporting on an annual basis. And there are very steep fines associated with non-compliance of Local Law 97. Delaying your annual reporting will lead to a fine of 50 cents per square foot per month. If you were to include any non-factual information in your reporting, that can lead to a $500,000 fine with potential criminal liabilities. And for exceeding what are going to be growing more and more stringent upward allowances for emissions, there's going to be $280 per ton. So the fines are strong. The mandate is there, but this is not what I personally and what we at Greenstreet want to be emphasizing. What we want to be emphasizing is that when you do these building upgrades and decarbonization properly, it is a value add strategy. It's a way of increasing the net income and valuation of your property while lowering or eliminating your liabilities. Next slide, please. So a little bit of reality here, and if you could go back to that slide, this is really important, very fascinating slide. So what you're looking at is the representation of 1 cubic ton of carbon dioxide. This is the unit that is measured in emission for, in New York City and around the world for carbon emissions. And as we said, there's going to be a fine of $280 per metric ton of carbon emissions that you exceed, right? So this is what the size of a metric ton of carbon dioxide looks like. This is basically the scale. Next slide, please. So we at Greenstreet Global have a principal focus on hotels. Hotels are just tremendous target vertical for us, and there's all kinds of opportunities, especially in New York City, where there are over 700 hotels. The hotels in New York City are categorized in 3 different categories. If you could go to click again, right. So there's R1, these are the luxury, the high-end luxury hotels. There's R2 are the business extended hotels, and H1 are the lower transient properties, transient hotels. So these three different categories of hotels are have different carbon footprints typically. Next slide, please. So as a visualization, you can advance the slide a couple more. Right. Okay. So first of all, the what this is showing is if you were to stack up all the carbon emissions from the R1 hotels in New York City alone, it would extend from the Battery up to north of my neighborhood in Inwood into the Bronx. The H1 hotels would extend into the lower Bronx, and the R2 hotels would stack up into Harlem. So just to give you a sense for the fact that, and this is just one component, these are just hotels we're looking at, but these buildings emit extraordinary amounts of carbon emissions. So for those of you who, have poo-pooed or otherwise thought poorly of Local Law 97, please consider that buildings account for about 70% of all the carbon emissions in New York City. And the other component is this, and I'm kind of a little bit of an outlier in commercial real estate, but I'm a former biology teacher and adjunct professor at NYU. And I personally completely, totally accept the climate science and all the thousands of climate scientists around the world that we are in the middle of a existential threat to human civilization with our climate crisis. And so I salute all those people who are courageous enough to bring Local Law 97 into reality and to be stimulating the critically important transformation of commercial real estate into the 21st century in New York City. Next, please. So this is the most important slide, I believe, in my entire presentation. And it's something that is really not fully understood, especially by engineers and architects. And, and I'm speaking now as a developer. And as a developer and as a building owner, there's one equation that I like to say is like the E = MC squared of commercial real estate. And the equation is that the value of a building equals the net operating income of the building divided by the cap rate. This is what commercial real estate owners and investors live and die by. This is their an exclusive focus on the part of almost every building owner that you're ever talking to. This is what is in frankly what it is that they are most concerned about. And the great news about what we do in upgrading buildings is that when we make buildings more efficient and we help these buildings to use less utilities, we are then going to be lowering the operating costs of the building. And for every dollar operating cost that's lowered, it goes right to the increase in the net income. So again, in the numerator, the NOI, as that increases, the value of the building increases. The other interesting thing is that cap rate is kind of like bond rates. So the more risks in the higher the cap rate. Thus, if the cap rate goes up, the value goes down. So a building that's facing Local Law 97 liabilities over time, the cap rate is going to be climbing. Thus, it's going to be devaluating those buildings. On the other hand, as compliance for Local Law 97 is embraced by building owners and these building upgrades are instituted, that's going to be lowering cap rate. And what we're looking to do is to both increase NOI and lower cap rate to optimize the value of the building. So as you can see, an example of a hotel with annual expenses of $1 million. We can typically bring cost saving solutions at 20 to 30%. The energy and water efficient upgrades will typically lower operating costs by nearly 20%. So if we and this is completely doable, we have numerous case studies where we lowered we brought overall 40% savings. So imagine a building with $1 million in annual expenses. We lowered through the savings, we lowered we brought about 40% or $400,000 in savings. If the NOI will say is, to be conservative, let's call it $350,000 at a 6 cap. In other words, $350,000 divided by 0.06, the total added value to that building is $2.5 million. So again, when you do this right, when you bring a increase in net operating income through lowering operating expenses, you're going to be adding value to the buildings of your clients, which is exactly what it is that they're looking to achieve. Next, please. So there's a real problem, though, in our industry, and it's the problem of fragmented solutions. So most companies are sort of operating in their own lane. So you've got the solar companies, you have companies that are working with BMS solutions that are, that have energy efficiency, fluids for HVAC, whatever. And that's all great. And that's all important. But any of you who've been in and around green building projects long enough knows that the best optimal way of enhancing and optimizing performance is to do projects in a holistic manner, such that you're looking at the building shell, improving the performance of the building shell first and foremost. As when you improve the building shell performance, if you're looking to optimize the HVAC efficiency, you can usually downsize the amount of HVAC equipment that has to be installed because of the less amount of heat that's entering the building, and as well as the AC as well, because of the heat that's entering or leaving the building. You can lower the HVAC system capital requirements and also improve its ongoing performance through this more holistic approach of looking at the building shell with the HVAC, with lighting, with all the electrical appliances. Doing it in a holistic manner instead of a fragmented approach is going to achieve much better solutions in general. Next, please. So we follow a one-stop program, and which I said before includes financing. We've got an extensive number of financing solutions that can finance these projects 100%. We have cost-saving solutions, which lowers the cost of the operating costs of the building upgrades, bringing together companies like BES to do the work that they do, and we then manage the entire process. After we make the building more efficient, then we would install clean power technologies and to further improve on the performance. What we're just beginning to engage in, which we're very excited about, is to build out our proprietary AI-powered platform, which is going to simplify, streamline, and automate every step of our process. We happen to believe that this is going to be a game changer in commercial real estate. Next, please. So as I say, DecarbIQ is our AI-enabled step-by-step platform. We are we have some components of the platform built out. We're going to be engaging with a really excellent tech company out of Ukraine to build out our entire platform. It's going to be nearly $1 million. It's going to take us about 12 months. But when done, it's going to be really, truly very, very powerful tool in simplifying, streamlining, automating the process. I do want to say this. Taking on a complete comprehensive upgrade of a commercial building is a vast undertaking. It includes a number of vendor partners. It includes financing. It includes the stakeholders. And when you do it in a manual fashion, you're going to be dealing with numerous friction points and pain points that are going to slow down the project, and in some cases completely derail the project. This is why the platform we'll be building out that's going to automate every step of this process is going to be super, super helpful. Thanks. Next slide, please. So our phase one of our core program is to reduce building operating expenses. And so we work with some vendor partners, one of which is a company that has been doing utility audits for about 15 years. And they will audit gas, electric, water, sewer, waste, telecom, and all the credit card accounts. 80% of the time they find savings. When they find savings, they will split the savings 50-50 with the client. We then, Greenstreet, get a portion of the savings we bring to the client, and we get a portion of the savings from our vendor because, of course, we're bringing the whole program together. This is something that every commercial building owner should be doing. It's just a complete no-brainer. And also it's a no-brainer because it's done on a shared savings model. If we don't save our client money, we don't get paid. So our interests are completely tied in with the interests of the client. And this is a no-brainer. And yet it's shocking at how few companies actually engage in this process. There are additional building OPEX strategies we deploy as well, including energy brokerage. We are in a energy deregulated state. There's an opportunity to get your gas and or electricity service bid on competitively by wholesale contractors, suppliers. And so we are affiliated with a national energy brokerage firm. That's another step, should be done by every single business. A lot of businesses will sign up with Con Ed, and Con Ed will assign them a supplier, and they're going to lose out on this opportunity as well. Power optimization, it's a subject in and of itself, but that's usually going to increase the efficiency of electric power supplied by about 10%. We look also at government incentives, Con Ed incentives, utility incentives, and tax saving strategies. So, and there's peak demand management as well. So you see there are a number of strategies, and this is just related to the building. Next slide, please. There are also opportunities for back office expenses. So our best verticals, and this is why we love hotels, are scenarios where we're working with one client that owns the building and has an operating business in the building. So we can be looking to lower costs on the building itself, and we can be looking to lower costs on the operating expenses of the business. Actually, there are more opportunities to lower operating expenses on the business than there are in the building. And so this is the invoice products and services that can either be renegotiated for better pricing, or new vendors can be brought in. And so we're just right here showing, I believe it's 16 or 17 opportunities. We have a new affiliate partner. We now can offer up to 50 different back office OPEX savings opportunities. So again, so we start then all of our projects with a cost savings audit, where we audit the basic cost centers for the building and the operating business. It takes about 2 or 3 months. We come up with a very high level professional report that will detail all the various ways in which we could be saving costs, both in the building and the operating expenses. And then we will fulfill and bring about those savings in a shared savings model. Next, please. So after we conducted phase 1, or for those clients who want to expedite the process, we go into phase 2, which is the green building upgrade. I do want to say this: if the externalized costs of carbon were fully internalized into the price we pay for our fuel, for our natural gas, or for the fossil fuels we use, then just this phase alone, just doing the upgrade, would be profitable. But because that's not the case, this is one of the many reasons we include a cost savings component to our overall program. Because again, our mission is to make these projects profitable for us in our own development projects and for our clients. So when we do a green building upgrade, we do what we've been doing for the last 25 years. We will typically conduct a site survey. We'll baseline the utilities. We provide an upgrade plan. We'll bring in 100% financing to finance all the soft and the hard costs, all the engineering and architecture costs. Then we'll bring together the appropriate team for each project, and then we provide construction project management throughout the entire process. Let me say also, for those engineers and architects who are on this meeting today, if you partner with us, we can package your services with our overall holistic program, and we can get your services financed. It's almost impossible to finance engineering and soft costs alone, but when it's packaged together with an upgrade, it's eminently doable. We've done it before. So more than happy to discuss those opportunities with you. So in doing these green building upgrades, we're going to be lowering utility costs, lowering operating costs.
Pretty good. How are you?
lowering fossil fuel, use of the burning of fossil fuels. And so the
Exciting.
decarbonization comes as a
Not
value add component. There's some sound in the background there, if somebody could mute there. So we're going to be lowering, again, this is going right to the bottom line. This is going to be increasing net operating income and valuation of the building, as well as bringing the building into compliance with local law 97, which can be done with 100% financing, folks, which can be done with cost saving solutions. So as you see, this is how we're building the step-by-step value components to our program that can actually allow us to fulfill our mission of making these projects profitable. Next, please. So after we make a building more efficient, after we've lowered heating and cooling loads, after we've lowered electricity loads, that's when we'll look to install appropriate clean power technologies, which again, we can finance 100%. I have to tell you, we did solar installations about 15 years ago. I was shocked at how many clients wanted us to be installing solar electric power systems on hugely inefficient buildings. Makes absolutely no sense. You always want to do the efficiency piece before you install clean power technologies. You don't have to install as much technology. You lower your CapEx and you make that system that much more productive and profitable for the building. So the beauty of clean power is that over time, because of the value that they provide with the power, it pays off. And so eventually these clean power technologies are going to be adding revenue to the buildings. So it's as if you added, additional vending machines. It's adding value to the buildings. Next, please. So the benefits to property owners, of course, reducing operating costs, increasing NOI, increasing property value, compliance and penalty avoidance, and also future proofing of projects, which is going to become more and more and more critically important, especially as we are addressing the stronger and stronger impacts of our climate crisis. And there's additional future proofing components we can bring, especially to large projects. So we tend to work with multifamily, hotels and hospitality, hospitals and medical centers, assisted living, senior nursing homes, private schools and colleges, and industrial and data centers. We have a lot of work going on with data centers. All of those, if you can tell, all those verticals are the same scenario. One owner who owns the building typically and the operating business in that building that we can provide the greatest value to. Next slide, please. So here's one case study. This is about going back a couple years ago. We worked with a building owner in Brooklyn. He owned 5 properties. And just through our cost saving solutions alone, we brought over $300,000 of cost saving solutions opportunities. So for those of you who don't know, if you have an affordable building and you're following the A321 pathway, there's a program called the Cool Roofs program in New York City, where you can white reflective high performance roofing systems provided for no cost to your building, 0 cost to your building. So there were 5 different buildings that this owner provided. We got them these cool roofs, white reflective roofs for 5 of his buildings. All of his buildings needed a new roof. There's tremendous value for that. Then cost segregation. So this is the tax strategies. Cost segregation is something that every single building owner who has a rental property or hotels, for example, should absolutely be taking advantage of. This client had 1 building. They had not done cost segregation. We brought about $125,000 of tax savings opportunities there. And then the EPA 179D tax strategy, the federal tax solution for commercial building upgrades, as far as I know, is still available. At that time, we brought nearly $100,000 of tax savings opportunities there, as well as what we're not showing here is we brought them some savings with Con Edison. So these cost saving solutions can really be powerful, and it's a great way to get started with clients to show the value that this program can bring. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a hotel project, one of our partners. This was in Philadelphia. And what's noticeable, notice if you see here on the right, project no CapEx. This project was financed through the Efficiency Made Easy program of Constellation Energy. They financed 100% of all the costs of the upgrade. all 100% of the cost, such that there was not a single dollar invested by the client. So the total investment was about $545,000 that Constellation's program provided. And along with utility incentives, annual energy savings, there was a 10-year positive cash flow of over $2 million. And folks, when you bring a single dollar of net savings in a project where the client has not invested a single dollar, that's an infinite rate of return. This is how powerful these projects and these programs can be when you do it right, when you use the financing and the cost saving solutions and the kind of program we're talking about. Next slide, please. So the other main component of our overall program is our partner and vendor marketplace. I feel I'm very passionate about this. So if you haven't noticed this, again, it's a very fractured marketplace. On an almost daily basis, I get introductions to amazing vendors doing, clean tech vendors and prop tech vendors doing work around the world. But I can tell you that it's very hard to find these companies. I get introduced to them because we've been doing this for so long, but it's very hard to find them. So in our marketplace that we're building out, that we currently have about 50 different vendor partners. We are doing the work of vetting and curating these clean tech vendors around the world, curating them, making sure that they're market ready, and bringing them into our marketplace. I'm actually going to Israel. I'm traveling to Israel in May to be meeting with clean tech and prop tech vendors there. They've got a tremendous number of companies in this space. It's happening all over the world and with results, but almost every single project that's happening right now with building upgrades and decarbonization is missing out on opportunities. That's what our marketplace is intended to do. Next, please. So I'm going to give you some idea of some of the main components and partners in our marketplace. So Zero Circle Financing Portal, we're working with them. We're actually going to be white labeling their portal. We have a number of additional financing solutions and partners we're going to be adding. They've done a great job at using AI to simplify and automate this process. We're, as I said, in the process of white labeling and integrating their portal into our overall program and into our platform. Next, please. So the Ecolo Synergy Window Solutions. This is such a no-brainer, folks. It's truly remarkable. So this window film gets installed in about 15 minutes. For a typical 5x6 window, about 15 minutes for the installation. It's about $15 a square foot to install it. And what is truly remarkable is a couple of things. First of all, there's only about 15% of the light that is blocked, if you will. So when you look out at these windows, it's basically like looking out a conventional window. It doesn't really look very different at all. But this window film, will lower the amount of heat gain and heat loss by up to 40%. 40%. So if you're thinking of doing an HVAC installation project, you want to include this window film at a minimum with those projects to make the whole system that much more higher performing. Would love to talk to you folks about this window film. It's just a no-brainer. We can finance the installation, and we're scaling this particular product in a big way. Next slide, please. So this is Max R refrigerant agent, another simple solution to add to cooling towers and chillers. It will increase the performance of those technologies by about 20%. It's usually an install cost of about $30,000 to $40,000, depending on the size of the project. Again, we can finance that. And so the payback is usually like 1 year, which is like 100% return on investment. So another super simple component of an overall holistic program that will achieve the results of making these projects more profitable. Next, please. So now this is what perhaps maybe my most favorite technology partner of all. This is a company called Circ+. The founder and CEO is a good friend of mine and a dear colleague. And this is a platform that will automate every aspect of a hotel room, every component of a hotel room. And it includes a digital thermostat that will lower PTAC and other heating and cooling costs by about 30%. So if you add this Circ Plus technology along with the window film, we're easily going to be achieving 50% energy efficiency improvement. Next slide, please. So it adds. There's two different components. Next, please. There's the EcoSense, which is the product simply installed, and then the Lux, which does the full total automated program. This technology can be installed and can be, and the business model is a subscription basis, a fairly inexpensive subscription basis, on the order of, last I heard, about $15 a month. This will be saving per hotel room on the order of, probably, depending on how inefficient, could be $50 to $100 a month easily. So again, net positive cash flow from all these technologies. Next, please. And you can see the energy savings potential from this technology. So an ROI, 1 to 2 years for the install cost, and then on an ongoing basis, savings. Next, please. So the final one I want to discuss is water savings. And one of our vendors is a company called Water Scrooge. They're one of 3 of our water savings vendors. And folks, water is probably the biggest pain point for multifamily building owners in New York City. With this Water Scrooge technology, our vendor partner has done over 180,000 units in New York City. He typically achieves 30 to 40% in water savings. Again, we can finance 100% of the cost. This is such a no-brainer. So I'm going to end with this as an example of a project we're working on right now, and the wrong way to approach it and the right way to approach it. So we're working with a company, an ownership group. They own 30 properties, and we're working on a project of theirs that was built in 1922. It's an old hotel that was changed to a multifamily rental. They have a number of they've got more than 35% low income. So we are using the prescriptive measures under the A321 for compliance with local law 97. So they've hired us essentially as a general contractor and consultant, which, that's what the client wanted. That's what we're going along with. And because of that, they've been paying out of pocket. They paid our consulting fees. They're paying our fees for the PCM, the prescriptive measures. What I've been urging them for months now, let us introduce our cost saving solutions and our financing program, because this is what we can do to, instead of the nearly, on the order of $75,000 they're going to pay out of pocket. What we would have done otherwise, we would have started with our cost saving solutions. We would have done the water savings, the window film, the power optimization. There is an upfront cost to that. We would have financed those. The financing costs probably would have been on the order of maybe $10,000 a month. I'm sorry, $10,000 a year. So let's say $1,000 a month. We would have brought at least $5,000 a month in savings through these upgrades. And so we would have brought positive cash flow to this client and to this building by doing it in this enhanced, smart, optimal way of using financing, cost-saving solutions, green building upgrades with these technologies. When you do it in a holistic manner, it's a much smarter, more valuable, more profitable way that can, in fact, turn local law 97 liabilities into opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Robert. We're going to have Robert's contact information as well on the last side. Just a personal anecdote. We've been working now with Robert for a while now, and the level of attention and care that Robert provides his clients, meeting on site with BES and our technicians and master plumber, and just the care and attention that he's involved with at every detail is really impressive. Reach out to Robert if you have questions about some of his energy saving solutions. We're beginning to run a bit short on time, and I really wanted to make sure we have time for Christina over at Accelerator to talk not only a little bit about Local Law 97, but importantly about some of the filing guidelines that have recently been published and come out. Christina, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thanks for having us. I'll try to keep it kind of short and sweet for this one, so we can go to the next slide. Next. Okay, so the Accelerator, I do want to talk about what we are. We're a program through the Mayor's Office for Climate and Environmental Justice. We essentially are here to assist building owners in lowering costs and achieving compliance with energy-related local laws. Our program offers free technical guidance. We can help you identify projects, and we can connect you with service providers, like the ones that are presenting, as well as incentives for these projects that you may be eligible for. Essentially, we are here to hold your hand through the whole process from start to finish in doing any of these projects or any local law compliance. The Accelerator, we're able to assist any building, any privately owned building over 5,000 square feet. For multifamily, that's usually 5+ units. If you do have a smaller building, you're not out of luck, we can refer you to a partner organization. And essentially all you have to do is call us and you'll get connected with a dedicated account manager like myself, and we'll talk about your building specifically and how exactly we can do whatever you want to do for your building. And this just kind of goes through the regular 97 process. We can skip ahead here. So we all know what Local Law 97 is, I hope. This is just a quick little refresher here. There's Article 320 for market rate in commercial and industrial buildings over 25,000 square feet. And Article 321 applies to certain affordable housing buildings over 25,000 square feet. I'm going to cross my fingers that we all know what pathway we fall under at this point. So I'm going to move ahead and keep going. And so if you are experiencing, if you're concerned about being above the threshold, there are a couple options for penalty mitigation. The good faith effort is for Article 320 buildings. Again, that's market rate in commercial and industrial. If you are above your limits for this first compliance period, you may want to consider a good faith effort. That requires all of these three things on the left, which Robert alluded to before, Local Law 88, 84, and the emissions report, that's also part of 88. And one of these measures on the right. So that's something you could discuss with an account manager, which one you should pursue and how to do so. Next, please. This is a decarbonization plan slide. Shows you kind of what would be required. This is the most common good faith effort option. There are some check-in dates. So if you're interested, again, in pursuing this, definitely get in touch with either your RDP or the Accelerator. For 321, penalty mitigation looks a little different. There are three options here. This unexpected or unforeseen event also applies to Article 320. I forgot to mention, but that's less common, so I didn't talk about it too much. But for Article 321, most buildings will be doing immediate resolution, which essentially either gives you till the end of 2025 to complete the prescriptive measures, or you have until 2030 to reach the 2030 limits. These are kind of more intensive, more documentation required, but they are a way to avoid penalties. And these are the penalties, which Robert also talked about before. So 50 cents per square foot, that is a monthly fine if you do not submit the report. If you're over your threshold, the potential penalties are $268 per ton over the threshold, and that would be fined annually. For affordable housing, it's $10,000 for no report and $10,000 for not complying. So those are at a cap, and total could be $20,000. And then we're at the fun stuff. So this is some new information. The Beam portal was recently released earlier this month, which is great. There's been some ramp up here and there, but it's up. May 1st is the kind of big deadline that we've all been hearing about. Local Law 84 is due May 1st. That is like a hard due date for Local Law 84, which is your benchmarking. For Local Law 97 and Local Law 88, there is a grace period until June 30th of 2025. So you can submit before June 30th with no penalty. However, if you submit after June 30th, penalties will be assessed from the May 1st deadline. So if you submit on July 1st, you will be considered 2 months late and you will be paying 2 months of fines. You're not considered 1 day late, even though technically submission closed the day before. And if you need the additional extension period until August 29th, you can request that. You don't really need a reason. You just need an RDP and to submit the ticket. But you do have to request specifically till June 30th is automatically granted. and you have to ask to be given extra time until the end of August. Next, please. And this kind of just writes it out in a different way. If you are doing both local law 97 and local law 88, the same deadlines apply to both of them. If you are doing only local law 88, you only have until June 30th, and there is no extension available for 88 alone. And 84 compliance, there is no extension. It is due hard May 1st stop. Please. This is Beam. This is what it looks like. Most things are going to be going through Beam at this point, especially I did want to highlight CBL disputes and help desk questions. Those will now be entered through Beam. If you submitted a CBL dispute before this month via email, that will still be responded to, but any new ones do need to be submitted through this portal through a specific ticket. You don't need an account to create that ticket. The help desk part of this is available without an account. We can go to the next slide then. So this is the help desk. You can see this new ticket button. That's where you would submit things like a CBL dispute or some other questions that may come up. So that's kind of prior to making an actual account. Next slide, please. So to make an actual account in order to do your local law 97 reporting and local law 88 reporting, you will need to pay the filing fee first, and then that transfers to Beam, then the ESPM data, which is how you do your benchmarking, and that will need to transfer to Beam, and then you're able to see your building data and submit your reports. And you would need to provide access. As you can see at the bottom, there's owner, owner representative, and service provider. You can add more people later once you are in Beam, but you'll work with your RDP to get all of this submitted. If you have someone different for local law 88, the process is very similar. There's just no ESPM stop for local law 88 since it's not necessary. If you're doing Article 321, the ESPM connection is also not necessary if you're doing the prescriptive energy measures. But this does take a little bit on the owner to connect that. Sorry, actually, this is fine. Could you go back one more? So this is kind of some of the details. You need to provide 3 emails. The emails need to be consistent across DOB Now, ESPM, and Beam in order to properly sync up. You do need to pay your filing fee before any of the reports are accessible to file. And you will need your payment confirmation number in order to submit any local law 97 or 88 reports. If you are submitting both local law 97 and local law 88, there is no additional filing fee for local law 88. So you would use the same payment confirmation number for both reports there. All of this, including many of these slides, are available in recent DOB webinars. I will put a link to them in the chat. You can see all these slides, and there are also several recorded webinars that walk you through how to use Beam and how to submit a bunch of these tickets. And so those are very helpful for the walkthrough if you need it. You can also contact us at the Accelerator with any questions, and I will also put the email for specific Beam questions for DOB that we cannot answer in the chat as well. And that's it. I hope that was pretty quick, so I'm proud of myself. But please reach out if you have any questions. We can tell you how all of those anything that's new applies to your building specifically and talk through that for your assistance. All right, back to you.
Thank you, Christina. That was nice and concise, pithy. You did a great job. Thank you for getting through that. And we only have a few minutes left here, so I'm going to really blaze through. Robert talked about this earlier, that most of the energy expense in New York City is from its buildings, and that also provides the greatest opportunity for energy savings as we fight climate change. As we encounter buildings with we take a holistic approach to their steam system balancing, varying hot and cold apartments, opening windows during the winter is really a wasted energy. And we have a number of solutions, most of which show up on the 13 prescriptive measures if you're an Article 321 building. Some of them are in-unit and common area steam traps, thermostatic radiator valves, which help tenants modulate the temperature coming out of their radiators. Orifice plates are a big one. We've been doing a lot of orifice plates jobs lately. They eliminate the need for the constant repair every 3 to 5 years of steam traps and really help reduce the energy consumption. And BES offers a local law turnkey solution. We do an initial site survey. We present the management or building owner with a report and proposal, really go through all the items that you may need to comply with for your Article 321 prescriptive pathway, or present opportunity savings for market rate. We help apply for and capture incentives, do the full installation, and then, of course, your filing as well. I would say that at this point, if you have not yet really started tackling local law 97, reach out, because it is getting late in the game. We also, about a year and a half ago, launched our plumbing division. We have a master plumber on staff, and we do pipe replacement and repairing. We do both for new construction and existing buildings. We do maintenance contracts as well. And importantly, our plumbing team will handle your local law 152. You have to get your gas piping inspected every 4 years, and we can help with any corrections of violations, inspections, and paperwork and filing. Christina mentioned this. I wanted to spend maybe an extra minute on this, was the disputes, CBL disputes. So we've worked with a number of buildings, a whole bunch that were correctly identified as Article 321 buildings in 2024. However, the DOB published a new list of CBL in 2025, and a lot of the buildings that we were working with, quite a few of them, they then showed up as 320 buildings on the 2025 list. At the time, we began reaching out to GHG emissions. That was what Christina mentioned before. We got some responses back that they are working on it. One tip is to have your 2024 DHCR annual registration summary handy, as well as your rent roll report. Those are going to be the two main documents that are going to help you illustrate that you are an Article 321 building if you need to open a dispute ticket through Beam. I also wanted to point out a couple of tips, local law filing tips. Christina was mentioning the process, but we've been now getting into it more and more, and I thought these were valuable pieces of information to just be aware of. You must start out the process when you're filing through DOB Now, and you must create a New York City ID if you do not have one yet. If you have one already, you log into DOB Now, pay the filing fee, and then you can go forward in the process. The Beam account must be created using one of the 3 email addresses that Christina mentioned earlier in the DOB Now portal. That would be the owner's representative, or service provider. In the portfolio manager, Energy Star portfolio manager, the data must be connected with DOB Now and shared with Beam. Sharing the portfolio manager with Beam is not required strictly for the Article 321 pathway, right? Because it's not dependent as much on your usage as it is fulfilling the 13 prescriptive measures. CBL disputes, like I showed you on the screen before, are now going to be done through opening a ticket on Beam, no longer by emailing GHG emissions. Important note, because time is now of the essence, if you open up a dispute ticket and it is not resolved before the filing deadline, then the guidance is you should file under your expected pathway. And if there is, a disagreement later or something, they will work out with some kind of mediated resolution. But do not miss your filing deadline just because you are opening a CBL dispute on Beam. Another important note is that the reporting platforms sync data overnight. So if you're going to start out with DOB Now and pay your filing fee, you can't just go over right away to Beam. You have to, the information will get forwarded overnight. So then you'll be able to log into Beam the next day. Same thing with the portfolio manager. It's all collecting the information overnight. So allow a little bit of time to make sure that you can get your filing in on time. And as Christina mentioned, finally, if you're filing both local law 97 in 2025, there is no separate fee for local law 88. The 88 fee is covered under 97. Very briefly, case study. We did a Queens oil fuel building. Oil fuel buildings don't really have as many incentive opportunities through local utilities like Con Ed and Nat Grid. We helped them save over 3,000 gallons of oil and 15% energy reduction. And NYCHA Patterson, New York City Housing Authority, we completed this a couple of months back. 18% energy reduction. This is anticipated. We don't have the final numbers yet from Con Ed. Almost 1,800 units. And we did the full 13 measures there for the Article 321 orifice plate job in that particular project that will reduce maintenance costs going forward for this particular building. One last point is our paperless reporting. When we're out in the job, in the field, we are providing management and building owners real-time access to information. So as the work is being performed in the field, these numbers are being constantly updated in real time. And we are not using, we're cutting down on our papers usage, which is really important. We also have a proven success record getting into, we have like 90% success rate working with management and tenants to get into the units. So we're going to now open it up for any questions and answers. We have Avi, who is the Chief of Staff at BES, on the call with us. Avi, can you please have a look at the chat and see if we have any questions over here? And I'm going to also put up the last slide now with the contact information from the presenters. You can screen capture it here. We will also be sending out a copy of the recording and presentation shortly after the webinar.
Yeah, so I guess before we begin, I would just open it to anybody. If anyone has a question, they can unmute themselves and be happy to address your questions to the appropriate presenter. I know that every building has its individual questions that come up and how to deal with specific things. So this is a good opportunity, especially we have New York City Accelerator on here as well with us, with Christina. So, this is a good opportunity to be able to take advantage of those kind of questions as well. And if you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat, feel free. Personally, I know that dealing with the filing now that Beam is open, we've come across numbers of different queries that have come up with specific buildings, and so as it is new, if you don't have any questions about using it yet, I'm sure something will come up. So Christina, thank you for putting those contact information in the chat. I'm sure those are going to be completely bombarded shortly. We do have a question here with co-op buildings with rent stabilized apartments that do not appear on the CBL. What would be the best way for them to proceed?
I can speak to that. If the building is over 25,000 square feet and there's only one building on the lot and you believe it should be on the CBL, that would be something that you should submit a CBL dispute for. There are kind of three different chapters or options when you're applying for a CBL dispute. One of them is I am not on the CBL and I should be. So that would be what you do there. But I would double check, reach out to the accelerator to see if your building should in fact be on the CBL and which one it should be on. Because it may depend for rent stabilized units, depending how many there are.
Thank you very much, Christina. We are now just past the hour, and if there aren't active questions right now from our attendees, maybe we should begin to wrap it up and not keep people here longer than they signed up for.
Yeah. One question just did come in, which is appropriate. So thank you for asking that. With regards to the new bin numbers, why new bin numbers are showing for some properties on the 2025 CBL. So I know that this has definitely added some confusion, as the previous lists were only listing BBLs, and we've kind of moved the new way into the bin numbers. So Christina, I'll toss that back to you.
I'm going to say I don't think I know why there are new bin numbers. They're there because generally, they're Local Law 97 will be enforced on the bin level. It's on the building level, not the lot level, as previous CBLs kind of implied. I don't know if you mean new as in there's a bin number you've never seen before for your property. That I do not know, but as to why bin numbers are now listed on the CBL, it's because they'll be enforced on the building level, and that's kind of how many they expect should be there. So it depends on if the buildings are following the same pathway. So if there'll be a webinar on combined reporting later this week. But if there's multiple buildings on a lot, if they're on the same pathway, you file one report. If they're on different pathways, it would be separate reports. Again, that is kind of a unique situation that I would contact the accelerator for, just to confirm. Or if you have an RDP, that would be something to ask, just so they can check with the whatever the paperwork is and the details there.
So if you don't mind me chiming in with a quick question, now that it has switched over to bin numbers versus BBLs, if both of the buildings then individually, each one is under the 25,000 square foot size, but to combined, the block and lot, the BBL is showing that it has a larger footprint. Would those be subject to LL97?
So the way it's set up, if there's more than one building on the lot, if they aggregate to over 50,000 square feet, the building would need to submit a report for that for both buildings. I do want to double check on this because with two buildings, it gets a little complicated depending on if they share energy service or not. So I don't want to, go on a whole spiral about this, but it depends on kind of the aggregate sum, whether or not the lot will be listed. But if either of the bins on their own are over 25,000 square feet, that building should still be reporting, but it may not be on the CBL. It gets a little complicated.
So definitely, if you have a situation like that, definitely reach out to the New York City Accelerator to help get that guidance. So thank you. Okay, great. And everyone, we do have the contact information for everyone here on the thank you screen. So if there are any questions, and we all know the minute we hang up, that's when, the question pops in. So don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone here is happy to assist and give any guidance that is possible. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, good question, Avi, by the way, at the end over there. And thank you very, very much, Christina. She's phenomenal. Really a great resource over at Accelerator. You should reach out. And Robert, fantastic presentation. I know you're doing great work helping buildings navigate this whole process and reducing their CapEx. Please reach out to any of our presenters. We'll send out the recording and the slide deck shortly. And look out for invitations to our next webinar. We appreciate you taking time with us today. Have a great day, everyone.
We will.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.